Dạ con nghe rõ. Dạ con nghe rõ cô ơi, cô nghe không ạ? Alo, con nghe cô ơi.
Dear everyone, due to the technical problem, the Wi-Fi problem of the Dhamma Hall, so please wait for a few minutes. We are trying to setting up the 4G connection. Hopefully we can connect.
Walk in now. Walk in. Okay. Maybe today will be very short talking. Huh? Okay. Here we can start. Paying homage to the Buddha.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Today we have to continue talking about.
Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ tiếp tục nói về Nimitta là định tướng.
This is very common.
Điều này rất là bình thường, rất là thông thường ở trong truyền thống rừng thiền Pa Âu. Ở bên ngoài thì người ta nói rằng đây rất là phức tạp. Người ta nói mình không cần phải nhìn thấy Nimitta, mình không cần phải có Nimitta. Và có rất nhiều câu hỏi liên quan đến Nimitta. Chúng ta có cần phải thấy Nimitta, thế là thấy tướng không? Và có những câu hỏi rằng chúng ta có thể đắc niết bàn mà không cần có Nimitta không? Và mọi người cũng bị nhiều cái bối rối nhầm lẫn về Nimitta này. Một số thiền sinh hỏi rằng có cái kinh điển nào mà Đức Phật đã nói về Nimitta không? Có rất nhiều câu hỏi như vậy liên quan đến Nimitta. Và họ cũng lại hỏi rằng là cái Nimitta nó giống như là cái gì? Và thỉnh thoảng người ta cũng nhầm lẫn ý nghĩa của Nimitta. Ngay cả những vị học giả mà nổi tiếng, học giả giỏi, họ cũng nhầm lẫn. Và nhiều những cái truyền thống khác, họ cũng giải thích nhiều cái cách tiếp cận khác nhau. Sorry.
Okay. There are also some misinterpretation of Nimitta. Okay, practically, when you have learned Abhidhamma, you can also know Kama Nimitta, Gati Nimitta in the near-death moment. Right? So, then in this case, when we say Nimitta, it's sign of destination, where we are going to be born. But in the case of meditation, it's a different meaning. Then in some tradition, you may have read, when you see Buddha coming to you, when you see pagoda, forest, garden, or trees and flowers, this is also Nimitta. They also misunderstand like that. Actually, in some meditation tradition, they also talk about this kind of sign as an improvement. But for example, when you see the Buddha coming, this is also a type of inside knowledge and something. They also interpret like this. But here, when we are going to talk about the Nimitta, it's Samatha Nimitta. In the Samatha practice, we can see the Nimitta. It's not Kama Nimitta or Gati Nimitta. Actually, when we are focused on the breathing itself is also very Kama Nimitta. Then again, when we are going to practice Kasina, the original Kasina, for example, when we are going to practice Earth Kasina, the natural swine, natural earth is also Parikama Nimitta. If we are going to practice Kala Kasina, natural white, such as white cloths, white piece of paper, or white flower or anything, these are also called Parikama Nimitta. This is initial sign of Samatha. So Parikama Nimitta will be very wide. In every single Samatha subject, we have Parikama Nimitta. But there will be some subjects we cannot practice as a beginner. For example, immaterial jhana is not for a beginner. Not only that, we also have Upacāra jhana. This is also not for beginner. So in the case of Parikama Nimitta, we may have different types of approach in the very beginning. For example, kasinas. Most of the kasinas can be seen with our naked eye in the very beginning of practice. There will be some exception in Vipassana. When we are going to practice Vipassana, we can also know the wind through touching. We can also know Vipassana through seeing. So seeing and touching. But in Anapanasati, it's not seeing. We can know it through touching. So there can be many different objects in the very beginning. We can use different methods to take initial nimitta, initial sign of samatha. But when we improve, there will be the next step. Ukha nimitta, the learning sign. This is a moderately bright sign, such a little bit clear white color. Here I just used as a simile, white color. It can be different other color also. For example, when we are going to practice yellow kasina, it can be yellow, a bit bright yellow. When we are going to practice black kasina, it can be a little bit brighter black. Similarly, red kasina, it can be brighter red color. This is called Ukha nimitta. Mostly in this stage, we can also see some shape, form, or color. So in the Bodhikama nimitta, we can also see, we can also feel. I already mentioned seeing and then touching. But in the Ukha nimitta, it's not through seeing, not through touching. That means we cannot use our eyes to see it. We can see it in our minds. Okay, I should say how I thought when I was in the Bali school. So in the Bali school, we have to learn the meditation subject according to Viddhamata Sangaha, Viddhamata Vibhavani. At the time when we study Bodhikama nimitta, okay, clear. Kasina, natural one is the Bodhikama nimitta, very clear already. In the case of Ukha nimitta, I also misunderstood at the time. Right? Ukha nimitta means, okay, as soon as close eye, it will see naturally. This is Ukha nimitta. Right? Actually, I have that kind of understanding. But when we practice, it's different. Right? Okay, that means when we are learning, we have to imagine how it can be. We try to understand by imaginary. Right? Sometimes when we practice, it's obviously sometimes. This also happens. Okay, in the case of Ukha nimitta, there will be some shape or color. So when you listen to Upacāra Dhamma Talk, he also used like a cotton wool, like a cloud or something, right? This is just example. It doesn't mean everybody must see the same thing. There can be different shape, different color, according to perception. When we change our perception, nimitta can change. This is also not through seeing with our eyes or not touching. We just see in our mind. That sometimes people also misunderstand this is a mind-made object. People also misunderstand we manipulate nimitta. Actually, if we create something, we cannot maintain very long time. And sometimes some people, they also talk about their own experience and how they see the nimitta. sometimes it's only mental creation. It's not truth. So, okay, many people also say, right? If somebody is, then they also thought, it's, I think, my mate. They think it's a my mate. Right? So they also say, is it true? Can we see the nimitta by focus on the breath like this? Can we see the light by focus on the breath like this? Then, in this kind of question, when somebody asks this kind of question, it's very easy to answer. Okay, now, close your eyes. Trying to create the light. Focus on it. How long can you maintain? If you can maintain 1 minute, you are strong enough. Within a few seconds, it will change or fade away. We cannot create. If it appears naturally, it will last long. So sometimes people also misunderstand Ukkha Nimitta as a mental creation or mind-made object. Of course, it's produced by mind. When our mind becomes calm, quiet, then when we can focus on the breath well, or when we can focus on the meditation subject very well, it will appear naturally. So if something appears naturally, it will last long. If we create something, fade away very easily. Okay, this is the second stage of nimitta. Then we have the last stage, Patibhaga nimitta, the counterpart sign. A sign that is as bright as the sun, the moon, or the morning star. This is also just an example. So it will become clearer and then brighter. It depends on what kind of meditation subject you are practicing. There can be different color. So this is the highest level of nimitta. Okay, one more thing. I have to say my own experience in Bali school. Okay, I can say my own understanding in Bali school, right? Actually, in Bali school, we have to compare nimitta and bhavana. We can also find that kind of explanation in the Vietnamese Sangha and Vietnamese Vibhavani sub-commentary. Then they are mentioned in the case of Parikama Nimitta and Ukkha Nimitta, this is called Parikama Bhavana. Parikama Bhavana means preliminary development or preliminary meditation, we can also say like that. But at the stage of Patibhaga Nimitta, there are two types of bhavana again. Upacāra bhavana, access development, Appanā bhavana, absorption development. So I had understood when I was learning, oh, that means when we can see Patibhaga Nimitta, we can attain access concentration, we can also attain absorption concentration. So in my understanding, as soon as we can obtain or we can achieve Patibhaga Nimitta, we will attain access concentration, absorption concentration. We don't understand the stability of nimitta. This is how I understand in learning, when I was learning. But in the practical practice, it will be different. It doesn't mean when we can see Patibhaga Nimitta, we can immediately attain access concentration or absorption concentration. It's not like that. It depends on how stable the nimitta is and how strong the nimitta is. How is our mind? Actually, there are many conditions as I have mentioned, the skill in absorption. We need the skill. When we are skillful enough, we can maintain well. The nimitta will become stable. We can absorb on it. This is the time to consider as a concentration or absorption concentration. So there are three types of nimitta. That here I didn't list out three types of bhavana. So when somebody asks, in which stage can we attain jhana? In which stage can we attain as a concentration? Then the answer is Patibhaka nimitta. So sometimes people also misunderstand something about jhana. For example, when they feel rapture, piti, very strong, they thought they have attained the third jhana or the second jhana. They have this kind of understanding. So that actually my piti is very strong, very clear. So when you know the piti, that means when your mind focus on the piti, it's not jhana. The jhana factors and the object of jhana are two different things. The object of jhana is nimitta, Patibhaka nimitta. Actually, when we study Aramana Sangha in Vietnamese Sangha, right? One of the chapters is Aramana Sangha. Very messy, very difficult to understand. Because it's very far from our level. Okay, for example, path and fruition knowledge will take Nibbana as an object. Clear? Okay, put aside. It's very clear. We don't need to think about it. Now when we talk about the object of absorption, it becomes very messy. Because many meditation subjects, we have to learn, we have to compare all the meditation subjects and attainment. Very messy. Okay, the main thing is, as a concentration or absorption concentration, both of them will take the Patibhaka nimitta as object. So then without Patibhaka nimitta, we cannot attain as a concentration or absorption concentration. Okay, these are three nimitta. Then we have to move a few more things about Upacāra and Appanā. As a concentration and absorption concentration, this also a lot of confusion. I have already mentioned how I misunderstood when I was learning in the school. Okay, now we have to elaborate a few more things about Upacāra and Appanā. So now here we have to start with Upacāra. During the Upacāra, at such moment, the hindrances are removed. Jhana factors are not yet strong. When the faculties are unbalanced, one may fall into bhavanga. So I have already mentioned, in every single improvement, we have to overcome something. We have to give up something. But here in the asset concentration, we can give up or we can overcome hindrances. This is how we must be overcome. How we must overcome. So last night when somebody asked about the order of Noble Eightfold Paths, I already mentioned different types of order. One of the order is Paha Nekama, the aura of abandonment or removing. So in improvement, there's some removing or overcoming. So he also mentioned jhana factors are not yet strong. It doesn't mean jhana factors are not clear. It may be clear, but not so strong like absorption. Then here also one of the clear points. When the faculties are unbalanced. I don't know how many times I have explained to balance controlling faculties. Right? I think more than 2 times in this retreat already. Right? If we cannot balance well, we can fall into Vanga state. Okay, now here we should say a few more things about Bhavanga state. Okay, for your understanding, Vanga state is a kind of unconscious state. Or your mind becomes blur, or you cannot know any particular object. This is called Bhavanga state. Actually, that kind of experience is also very luxurious. Right? Even a few days ago, when in the interview, I already talk about it, right? We have some new experiences such as tranquility, falling into Vanga state. Mine is very fresh, also very luxurious, but no more improvement. This is the normal. This is the problem of Vanga state. If we like that kind of experiences, we may create to experience the same things many times. Finally, it becomes habit. We don't wish to improve anymore. We just enjoy. So, okay, the main thing is, at the time, controlling faculties are not so strong. We cannot balance very well. So it's the time to balance controlling faculties. If we cannot know which faculties are weak, which faculties are strong, we cannot balance. That's why we need skill. Many times, when somebody asks, how long does it take to see the Nimitta? How long does it take to attain jhana? I have the same answer. It does not come from duration. It just comes from skill. Although you meditate 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 14 years, 15 years, if you're not skillful enough, it will be the same. Experiencing the same things, maybe slightly different, but not deeper concentration. So if we can balance, if we come to know how to balance, what to balance, we can improve faster. We must know what we need. Then we can do according to our conditions. Then the next one. During the Appanā, absorption or jhana moment, the jhana factors become strong. The faculties become balanced. This is very clear. So jhana factors become strong and powerful. Now we can also balance controlling faculties well. So it's the time to do masteries. Okay, here a few more things we have to talk about. The concentration power. So if we can balance all the controlling faculties very well, it will be stronger. When our controlling faculties become weak, it will become weaker. So it can be off and on. Okay, then we must develop controlling faculties. Okay, now we have to move the next step. Upacāra and Appanā again, right? So you may have remembered jhana factors. I think many people have known 5 jhana factors. Vitaka, initial application. That we can also sometimes we also translate as a thought. So that's why sometimes people also misunderstand vitaka. That means when we are thinking about jhana, nimitta, we can change, right? Because vitaka is a thought. This is also misinterpretation. When we are going to talk about jhana factors, vitaka means initial application. If we can interpret another way, vitaka means it's directing our mind to go to the nimitta. So vitaka will direct our mind to be with nimitta. This is the nature of jhana factors. Then there are many mentalities that arise together with jhana. Why only 5 jhana factors? Okay, for your information, there are 34 mental factors that arise together with the first jhana. For example, consciousness. Consciousness also can know the nimitta. The phassa, contact. So that means phassa will contact the mind and the object. But why it doesn't mention phassa, contact as a jhana factors? Why it doesn't mention citta, consciousness as a jhana factors? But these jhana factors are totally opposite of hindrances. That's why they are called jhana factor. When they are working well, then they will subside or they will remove jhana factors. Hindrances. So now here, vitaka, initial application, abundance, nimitta, sloth and torpor. Then sloth and torpor means mind is not so active, also sluggish, or laziness, or boring. So when vitaka become powerful, it will remove sloth and torpor. That's when this is also called jhana factor. Next one, vichara, sustained application. Vitaka will direct the mind to be with the nimitta, the object. The vichara will sustain the mind to be with nimitta. That's why we translate as sustained application. Actually, sometimes when we talk about vichara, we can also understand like a going around or moving around. So vichara will abandon, vicikiccha, doubt. Of course, if we can sustain our mind with the object, we will not get confused, right? If you cannot now practically, if you cannot maintain your mind with breathing, you may have a lot of doubt about your own breathing, touching point. If you can keep knowing, if you can maintain or sustain your awareness of breathing, it's easier. No more confusion. Okay, now a few more steps here. PT, rupture, or joy. Actually, we have many types of piti, but today I will not talk about all types of piti, right? It will be too wide. But later I have to explain something about mental factors. At the time, I will elaborate more in detail. So there will be many gross piti. Okay, now in your practice, you may have already experienced some types of piti, like for example, hair rising, electric shock, or floating, or flying, or that kind of experiences. They are very gross rapture, very gross piti. It can make you excited. Because it's new experience for you, right? When we have this kind of piti, it's not jhana. At the time of jhana, it must be very fine, subtle, invading all over the body, very fine piti. That's the one simile. If we dip a fine cotton wool into very clean wine, the cotton wool will absorb wine. Similarly, the rupture will invade all over the body. Body become very soft like a cotton wool. Very fine and very pleasant rupture. At the time of jhana, we may have that kind of rupture. If we have very gross piti, it's not jhana. So if we have that kind of joy, that kind of rupture, it will abandon vyapada, ill will. So ill will means we don't wish somebody belonging, right? We just want to destroy their belonging. We just want to disturb people when they are happy, for example, right? That kind of evil mind. Of course, when we have a rupture, our body becomes very fine, mind becomes very peaceful. We don't have that kind of mindset anymore, right? This is the nature of jhana factors. Okay, now again, the next one, sukha. Sukha also, we also translate sukha as a happiness. Actually, we can also translate as a bliss or blissful. Actually, sukha is stronger than piti. So you can also imagine what type of happiness it will be, what kind of joy it will be, what kind of bliss it will be. So it will invade all about the body. Very fine, very pleasant. This is also a kind of pleasant feeling. So when we have sukha, bliss, it will abandon uddhacca kukucca, restlessness and worry. Okay, kukucca also can understand as remorse or regret. We can also say repentance, right? Anyway, so when we have sukha, we may not recall many bad things we have done in the past, right? Even today, I have already talked to some meditator, right? When your mind becomes very calm and very quiet, all the bad things you have done in the past will come naturally, like a movie series. So when we talk about that kind of condition to ordinary people, right? Okay, when you calm down, when you can calm down your mind, all the bad things you have done will come to your thought process. They may not believe, right? They may say, "Are you crazy?" And they may have that kind of question, right? But when you yourself experience that one, you will know. That means we remember many bad things of the past. We feel remorse, we regret, we repent, But when we have sukha, no more. No more restlessness, no more remorse. So mostly after doing something wrong, we feel remorse, right? Sometimes if we miss something good we have never done in the past also, we can feel remorse, we can regret. Or if I can meditate at the time, I will see Nimitta, but now I miss the opportunity. I miss the opportunity, we regret. So now when we have this kind of sukha in the jhana, jhana fada become very powerful, no more restlessness, no more remorse. Okay, now the next one. Ekakata, one-pointedness. That it will abandon kama chanda, sensual desire. Okay, one-pointedness. This is also very popular word. Eka, one. Akami, point. Right? That means you can know only one point. Then you're trying to know only one point around the nursery. In the very beginning of Anapanasati, you get confused also, right? That means you can keep knowing the same object continuously. But at the time of jhana, the mind will keep knowing nimitta continuously. That's called one-pointedness. If we know many objects, it's not one-pointedness. This is it, the jhana factors. When we have one-pointedness, then by the power of this one-pointedness, it will abandon sensual desire naturally. These are how jhana factors working. Then we can also understand the nature of jhana factors. But later I have to elaborate when we talk about mental factors. But anyway, here I should summarize, right? Then it will be easier for your understanding. Okay, now, finally, people also ask, what about vipassana jhana? We have two types of jhana. For your easier understanding, samatha jhana and vipassana jhana. How different are they? What's the difference between these two jhana? Actually, both of them are absorption. In samatha also, we can absorb on the object. Vipassana also, we can absorb on the object, but only different objects. Okay, now here I should start. The first one, Aramanupa Nijjhana. If we analyze according to Bali grammar, Aramana means object, Upanijjhana means absorption. So samatha jhana, that family observes the Pratipaka Nimitta and banning away hindrances. This is also called Aramanupanijjhana. Okay, when we say jhana, this is also called burning, like a fire burning. But this is not burning the body. We cannot feel any heat, right? This means just burn hindrances. That means it will remove hindrances. So, Aramanupanijjhana means we will take Pratipaka Nimitta as an object. We can absorb on it. We can also subside the defilements, or we can also remove hindrances. This is called Aramanubani jhana. Then we have the second jhana, second types, Lakhanubani jhana. So here again, Lakhanami, the characteristics. We have many different types of characteristics when we start practicing Vipassana. For example, in the Nama meditation, Citta, consciousness, has the characteristics of knowing the object. Similarly, Phassa, contact, it has the nature of connecting between object and mind. So that means in every single ultimate reality, they have characteristics. Okay, for your easier understanding, when you are practicing 4 elements, for example, hardness, this is also one of the characteristics. When our mind can absorb on it, this is also called Lakhanubani jhana. Then, after practicing Vipassana, when we can, so after understanding Nama Rupa and their causes, when we start contemplating Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta, the Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta are also general characteristics of Nama Rupa. So that means we must absorb on Anicca. Our mind must absorb on Dukkha. Our mind must absorb on Anatta. This is called Lakhanubani jhana in Vipassana. So another thing is path and fruition knowledge. Then at the time of path and fruition knowledge, our mind will know the Nibbana as object. So our mind will be absorbed on the Nimitta, absorbed on Nibbana. So Nibbana has the characteristics of sunyata, emptiness. Sometimes we also elaborate 2 different things, right? Nibbana and sunyata are 2 different things or something, right? Actually, there are many different levels of sunyata. But now, the main thing is the Nibbana means cessation of all the Nama Rupa, all the defilements. This is called sunyata. So the mind will absorb on the Nibbana. This is also called Lakhanubani jhana. Okay, if we summarize, Lakhanubani jhana will take Nama Rupa as object, also Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. Also, it can be Nibbana. Because all of them have characteristics of mentalities and characteristics of Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. That is why they are called Lakhanubani jhana. Then you may also have one question. Without jhana attainment, if we practice Vipassana, can we attain jhana together with path and fruition knowledge? Actually, I have to elaborate many things in this case. So maybe later I also have to elaborate when we talk about consciousness. So there will be different foundations of Vipassana. For example, also can be foundations of Vipassana. The absorption concentration also can be the foundations of Vipassana. Of course, when we have foundations of Vipassana as a jhana, it's very clear. But we don't attain jhana, as people understand, pure Vipassana vehicle. we don't attain jhana, we just attain asset concentration, go to Namarupa, also their causes, contemplate as anicca dukkha anatta. When insight knowledge becomes mature and powerful enough, we attain Sotapaddi Magga, for example. Then that Sotapaddi Magga will associate with the first jhana. That means the Sotapaddi Magga concentration will be equal to the first jhana concentration. So we call Magga Siddhi jhana. By the power of path knowledge, we can attain jhana. So this is the explanations of jhana today. I think it's heavy enough, right? The topic is very heavy, right? Anyway, so learning and practicing are two different things. That I can give only information, how you can do, how you can experience. The another thing is, I myself experience in the Bali school, we try to understand by thinking, by imagination, right? So the practice and practical experience will be beyond imaginary. Buddha teachings are beyond imaginary. We cannot understand by imagination. But when we can experience, we can really understand it. It will be deeper. We can confirm our knowledge. So, learning without practicing, our knowledge is not that much useful. Similarly, just practicing without learning, without any knowledge, it's not that effective. It will take very long time to improve because we don't know many things. Then people also ask, do we need to know Abhidhamma when we are going to meditate? Of course, if you can know Abhidhamma, it's easier for you to understand deeper. By learning Abhidhamma, you can also know Sutta clearer, deeper. Okay, now we must do as we have learned. At the same time, we must experience as taught by the Buddha. We must experience what we have learned, but not as we think. Right? If we experience as we think, it's not correct. Sometimes we also need proper guidance from proper teacher. Then this is also important. Otherwise, it will take very long time to improve. Right? Okay, one more thing I have to give information, my school life, right? You know, when we study Yamaka, in Sankhara Yamaka, it also mentioned something about breathing. In the Sankhara Yamaka, also mentioned about breathing. The very beginning of in-breath is the nostril, the middle of in-breath is the chest, the end of in-breath is the navel, the very beginning of out-breath is the navel, the middle of out-breath is the chest, the end of out-breath is the nostril, right? We have learned this kind of things. Then again, when we study Dhammacharya, we have to study Samanapasatika commentary. In the volume 2, he also mentioned many things about Anapanna practice. The same as Visuddhimagga, actually. You can also find the same information in Visuddhimagga. In the Samanapasatika, we can learn Anapanasati again. So I also misunderstand. So when I practice, in the Bali school. When I practice Anapanasati in Bali school, I follow the breathing. So when we are going to study whole breath body, going to meditate whole breath body, trying to follow in breath from the very beginning, nostril, chest, and navel, out breath from navel, chest, and nostril, right? Then when I came to Paudaya, in the not Paudaya Molamye, I have been to another foul branch. We have to listen to Dhamma Talk. Then I mentioned very beginning of in-breath, that means when we are going to know whole breath body, it must be around the nostril. I also get confused. How it's happened? I have understood, right? Different way from nostril, chest to navel, right? In our breath. But in the practice, it mentioned it must be on the nostril. Why is it like this? Then, actually, in the Sutta, it's very clear already. You may know who cutting? Right? Who cutting, right? When we cut the wood, we don't need to see the tip of the saw. We just need to see the wood where the tip of the saw touch. Right? If the tip touch in the proper place, then we are cutting well. If the saw teeth touch in many different places, we are cutting wrong. The example in the Sutta is very clear already. So that means when we are going to focus whole breath body, it must be on the touching point. Don't follow the breathing very deep inside or deep outside. Later, when I study Patisambhidamagga, then they are mentioned 18 types of impurity of Anapanasati. Then 2 of them is following internally and following externally. Oh, I realize, oh, that means this is the mistake. Right? We must not follow inside the body and outside the body. It becomes impurity of Anapanasati. Okay, the main thing is, if we are going to learn also, we have to learn properly. With experienced teacher, it will be easier for improvement. Otherwise, we will get confused. Everything. We have very messy knowledge. We know here and then there. Right? We don't know how to combine. We also need comparative study. Right? It will be more effective for our practice. Okay, today I will stop here. Today we also a little bit late, right? Because of connection. May you all be able to practice 3 trainings, and may you all be able to realize final cessation and not suffering. Okay, any question? It's very heavy topic for you. I understand. Okay. Okay. No question there? Kabia?
Hello, Sayadaw. What is Nimitta Samadhi?
Nimitta Samadhi. Actually, we have 3 types of Samadhi. Nimitta Samadhi, Appanā Samadhi, or Sunyata Samadhi. Right? Actually, this happens in Vipassana. Okay? So in Anapanasati or Samatha, we cannot have this kind of Samadhi. Okay?
And also, during the PT experience, Is it common for the like what we call the body hair to stand on end, like I forgot what they call in English, like
Hair rising.
hair rising.
Hair rising.
Is it the natural? Does it mean there's now the PT experience, or
This is also one of the PT experience. But it also can be in the very beginning of practice also. Although you don't have very deep concentration, you can also experience that kind of PT.
like goosebumps?
Goosebumps, sure. Okay now? Okay. No many questions. Now connections are okay, right?
Sayadaw. There is right concentration on Eightfold Path, and in which we must enter fourth jhana. And Buddha told us that Eightfold Path is the only way to get Nibbana.
Huh?
Eightfold Path is the only way to get Nibbana.
Okay.
And right concentration is fourth jhana state. Could you please elaborate on this? From excess concentration, also you can get Nibbana state, as you told us before.
Not quite clear, right? Because microphone is noisy a little bit.
Okay. So his question is, so in the Eightfold Noble Path, Samma Samadhi is considered up to the fourth jhana.
Sure.
So if someone is practicing Suddha Vipassana, so with excess concentration also, Sayadaw just explained, people can attain Magga Phala. So how can this happen without right concentration?
Okay, good question, right? Okay. Actually, as a concentration also similar to the first jhana. Concentration power will be similar to the first jhana. Okay? That's why we can say this also called right concentration. Okay, one more thing here. There are some people, they dislike commentary. There are many people, they don't accept commentary also, right? Actually, if we disagree or if we dislike commentary, according to the sutta, we must attain jhana. Without jhana, you don't have right concentration. Actually, as a concentration is allowed by commentary, we can say. Right? In the commentary it mentioned, if you have asset concentration also, it's possible to continue vipassana. So it depends on how you accept. If you don't accept commentary, you must attain jhana. Right? If you accept commentary, okay, what's accept concentration, you can also continue vipassana. Which one do you like? Actually, meditation does not come from like and dislike, right? Right? Improvement does not come from like and dislike. It just comes from how skillful we are. Now, it depends on how we accept the truth. Okay?
Sayadaw, I have one question. So I have heard some teachers, and also they have in some published some books also. So there they mention about this Lakhanupani jhana as when people are practicing vipassana, for instance. So normal nama rupa paricheda jnana, for instance, we see the pain, we understand it as rupa. Actually,
I know.
And with the mind knowing the pain will be nama. So when they can separate these two, that will be nama rupa paricheda jnana, which is similar to first jhana of vipassana. Then pachaya parigaha jnana. So when they can see like very minor cause and relationship, like wanting to stand up, then the body stand up.
Sure,
so
I know.
cause and effect. So that will be second jhana. So and also they say it's mentioned in some commentaries. But I try to search the sources, many things, but cannot find anywhere.
Sure.
So I wanted to ask Sayadaw, how about this kind of teachings?
Actually, I have been to that kind of tradition also. Right? Actually, we cannot find any source for it. No source, right? Actually, many different approach of vipassana also. For example, when you start experiencing rapture, then they may talk about Uddiyavaya Jnana. Similarly, when you start seeing the light very bright, then it's also Uddiyavaya Jnana. Then when your body disappears, they may name as Bhanga Jnana. This is the way they interpret. Okay, anyway, sometimes they just make inside knowledges according to their own experiences. Then their experience will change to inside knowledges. That's why that kind of thing can happen. See, actually no sources. Okay?
Sayadaw, I would like to add that I read in the Samadhi Sutta that the Buddha says we can have two choices. We can start with the samatha and go all the way, and then start with the vipassana and go all the way. Or we can start with vipassana and go all the way, and then go back to samatha and go all the way to the eighth jhana. This is mentioned in the Samadhi Sutta. So the Buddha makes it clear that we have the option start with whatever we like, but we have to go back to complete all the jhanas. So he makes it a requirement, and that can be used, I think, to refute the people who say that, oh, we don't need jhana or something like that.
Actually, in this, okay, when we are going to study sutta, we have to think about the listeners. Who is the listener? This is what the listener needs. For example, if they cannot then talk to Venerable Ananda, possible. He can do it anyway, because he's an experienced meditator. Right? If you talk to Venerable Mahamoggallana, Venerable Sariputta, or somebody, skillful meditators, it's possible. We call that kind of thing as a Desana Khemā, the aura of teaching. Okay, yesterday I already showed, right? Desana Khemā. Okay, if I summarize, we have to consider who is the listener of that discourse, for whom the Buddha gives that kind of instruction. It's not for ordinary people, right? Any other thing? You're going to find? Any question?
Vandami Sayadaw.
Okay.
Vandami Sayadaw, can you hear me?
Again, you hear?
Yes, Sayadaw. There's a question. How to differentiate vasana, means habitual tendency, and defilement?
Okay. Habit, okay. Sometimes, although you don't have bad intention, you can do that kind of habit. For example, there are many people, they use abusive words because of habit. They don't have bad intention. And this is a just habit. But if we have, say, defilements, we have evil mind already. Our mind is impure. Right? So these two are different. Okay, next one.
Vandami Sayadaw, please Sayadaw elaborate more about Magga and Phala-citta relationship with Nibbana. Thank you, Sayadaw.
Actually, later I will explain all the consciousness. Okay? It will be too wide. Okay, there. Question are there?
Dạ, con muốn hỏi Sayadaw là những người mà vừa nghe Pháp xong là chứng đắc như ông Anathapindika hay là bà Visakha nghe Pháp lúc 7 tuổi á, thì những cái vị đó có phải trải qua hai cái giai đoạn là phân tích danh sách Paricheda, Namarupa và cái giai đoạn Bhaticca, Samutpada hay không, hay là khi mà nghe pháp đó là phân tích về tí Lakkhana và đắc luôn đạo quả?
So the question is, those who were listening to the Buddha Dhamma talk and attain Nibbana like Anathapindika or Visakha when she was just 7 years old. So while they are listening to the Buddha, do they practice systematically like from Nama, Rupa, Paricheda and discerning cause and effect, etc., or they just directly contemplate on the lakkhanas of those Nama and Rupa and attain Nibbana?
Okay, now I should approach practical way, right? When you speak Vietnamese, do you need to choose the Vietnamese vocabulary? What about speaking English? When you speak English, do you have to choose vocabulary or sentence construction? Sentence construction also, right? We can say sentence patterns. Okay, you know, for ordinary people, now like us, right? We are just learning to speak one language. When we are going to speak, we have to choose the vocabulary or the sentence patterns. After we have to speak out slowly, right? Like Vietnamese is your native tongue, your native language. You can speak fluently. Anytime anybody asks you, you will speak out fluently, right? Okay, in their case, they have been practicing in many, many lives. Like their native language. Speaking native language. That's why when the Buddha say anicca, they can understand anicca clearly. When the Buddha say dukkha, they can understand dukkha easily. When the Buddha say five vigata, they can understand five vigata easily. When the Buddha say namarupa, they can understand namarupa easily. Right? Like speaking native language. That's why while listening, they can focus on the practice. Then at the end of discourse, they can also attain path and fruition knowledge. Sometimes the Buddha only point out what they need, and they can get enlightened easily. Okay? So different power. We cannot compare with modern society. Right? Now many people also think, right? If you know body is rupa, knowing is nama, good enough. Right? Even you don't do think about it, like speaking language. Okay. Okay,
Sadhu. Thank you, Sayadaw.
Okay, any other question? No more? Vietnamese question. Okay.
Sayadaw, there is question. Why in the fruit there is no life faculty, but the bhikkhu, when you have to cut it first, have to destroy it first?
Huh?
In the fruit, there is no life faculty.
Okay.
But why the bhikkhu have to cut it to damage it before using?
Okay. Okay, so that means when we talk about Vinaya, don't think about anicca dukkha anatta also. Right? don't think about Jivita also, right? This is the Vinaya. Okay. Ancient India, then there are many religions also. Some of the religious believer, they also believe there's a life faculty in the tree. So then when we cut the tree, They also understand this is also cutting a life, killing a life. So Buddha has to lay down the rules, because many people will complain, right? Even ordinary people didn't do. If they could do like that kind of things, they will complain a lot. Buddha laid down the rules. Actually, this is also complained by the people. That's why Buddha laid down the rules. Okay, then. No more. Okay, so now. Okay, now we can share merit, right? Edawadaja amehi Sambadam bunya sambadam Sabbanumodandu Sabbe Buddhanumodandu Sabbe Saddanumodandu Sabba Sambati Siriyam Idame Nyadinam Hotu Sukhita Hondu Nyadayo Idame Nyadinam Hotu Sukhita Hondu Nyadayo Idame Nyadinam Hotu Sukhita Hondu Nyadayo Idame Bunyam Asawakaya Waham Hodu Idame Bunyam Nibbanasa Pachayo Hodu Mama Bunya Bhagam Sabbasadanam Bhajimi Te Sabbe Me Samam Bunya Bhagam Lavantu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu